able to run the ball so well in the first half, especially to the left side. And then all of a sudden, we started to abandon it. And like I said, there is some inconsistent.
How are they going to approach this game? How are they going to beat this Florida State team?
Well, we're going to break you guys.
Okay, that's it. The show's over.
In the story, we're going to break you guys. Look, and I'm joking, but it's true.
Lord, the climb continues, KB. Oh my God!
I am sweating.
Look at my heart. Look.
You know what? Yeah, I have so much to say.
All right, welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. As always, I am KB, and with me is the old man. How is it going, everyone? How are you doing, old man? Welcome to Wednesday, Thanksgiving tomorrow. You're watching this live, watching this late. We appreciate you being here. But how is it going on your end?
It's going well, my friend. It's going very, very well. I'm in the mobile studio down here in Tampa, Florida. Okay. And actually, it was a little cool down here this morning in Florida, if you can believe that. But it heated up to about 78 degrees. Beautiful day down here. But, I was looking at my sign. We had this last year, and I'm like, the climb continues. Is that still the theme? Or is it, we fell off the ladder at the top, and then we get back on the ladder and climb again? What the hell? I almost brought a ladder out here tonight, and, but I didn't want to fall off and ruin my damn holiday. So, so here we are. But, yeah, everything's good. Went out to have a little quick dinner tonight at a Vietnamese restaurant. The first one we went to in Tampa, kind of a favorite. We go there and it's closed. The whole thing is closed down. And then you had to turn around in traffic and go find another place. Well, we found another place. I mean, the environment was a little rough and ready, but the food was actually pretty good. They had good egg rolls, and we had the big big bowl of faux soup, which we split, and had another reorder of the egg rolls, and they're actually pretty good. So,
but you had two orders of egg rolls in the same sitting, or you had them? This is your second time having them?
No. We ordered two. One order is two egg rolls. Okay. So we had those up front, and we had a big. Hey, there's our friendly animals, our furry friends. Because tonight, let me finish my story.
Yeah, finish your egg roll story.
And then we had this big bowl of faux soup. And if you've never had faux soup, you got to try it. It's really, really good.
I think most. Okay, yeah.
And then we were going to order a dinner, and split that. But we decided to go with another order of egg rolls. And
well, join us next week, and Papa will tell you
another restaurant.
We'll tell you about his restaurant review. The old man.
Now, let me move on to something very important though, because we just heard the introduction. Your two dogs, KB. You have two dogs, two rescue dogs for tonight, and all of our shows going through the end of the holidays. We're going to be working with Leon County Humane Society, who we did last year on a big fundraiser. We start off the pot with our own $50. We're going to match any donations that come in for super chats. You can tell people how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
It's not that hard.
And we're going to match each dollar that our viewers send in, $1 for $1 to help these needy animals in a great society. And let me read this. We got a nice response after our donation to our favorite charitable givers. Our show. A big thank you. We appreciate your show for the support of the animals and the community we serve in Tallahassee. We promise to make the most of your awesome donation. For the animals, April, Director of Operations, and that's in Tallahassee, Leon County Humane Society. So we're not putting pressure on anybody. We're not twisting any arms. We know money's tight for everybody, the holiday season and everything. But if you can do a small donation for these needy animals, it's heartwarming. It brings tears to my eyes to some of the situations that these animals have. And you have two of them. you say you're not going to exploit your animals and show them, but if you get a chance, man, old Gus there and Bowden, Bowden is one of the names of the dogs that KB has. So, but if you can find it in your heart to even give $1, that would be great for the Leon County Humane Society right there in Tallahassee. And
are you willing to commit right now for every touchdown Florida State scores against the Gators, you'll give a $100 donation?
No, I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to.
Well, based on historical trends, you wouldn't have to give much money at all.
No, wait a minute. Okay, you keep track tonight. I've already started with 50. In the pot. I put 50 in the tip jar. All right, $50 bill in the tip jar. I'll give $10. I'll give $10 per touchdown that the Noles score on Saturday. $10 per touchdown.
You heard that, Luke? Put up some points on Saturday.
$10. Oh, here we go already. To get the tip jar off and running here. Look at this. Wendy Lakowitz.
Thank you, Wendy, for that.
$4.99. $4.99 Gold Nose. Gold Dogs. She's a big Dogs fan as well. But right there, that's all going to the animals. We don't take any piece of it. It all goes to a great cause, Leon County Humane Society. So
thank you for that, Wendy. Let's kick it off.
And we'll kick it off, and there'll be little reminders down in the end of the screen, and we appreciate that. Don't feel any pressure. If you want to and you can, that's fine. If you can't, we fully understand. So let's go ahead, kick it off, KB. How you doing?
Good,
by the way?
Good. No one cares about how I'm doing. So let's get into some things and what's going on across college football. We got a lot to go over tonight. We'll go through what's been trending this week in news. Go over our thoughts from the Charleston Southern game. Once again, you can't take away a lot from that, obviously, playing the worst team in Division I football. But get our initial thoughts from that because we didn't get to discuss that this week and up until now. Obviously, we'll talk about some recruiting news, and there's been some flips and decommitments, and then there's things trending in Florida State's direction, so we'll talk about that. And obviously, we'll wrap up with the Florida preview with the game happening on Saturday. And it's obviously... it's a big game for both teams. I mean, both teams aren't playing for anything at this point in the season. But it's a game between two true freshmen and two potentially future, we hope, stars of each program. And could be this could be two guys that face off for the next 2 to 3 years. So it'll be an interesting breakdown. We'll go through our predictions for that and what we expect to see there. But a couple of things I want to bring up and discuss with you as we're going through some news. Well, one thing let's start with is, what did you take away from the Charleston Southern game? Let's just, I don't want to dive too deep into this, but we need to discuss it. Obviously, Florida State did score more than 21 points for the first time, so congrats to them for being able to pull that off. I didn't know if we could do it. I said I was a little bit scared of the 33-point line because, once again, we hadn't scored more than 21 points. But they did it. They pushed on the gas in the second half. And looked pretty good there. I thought they played very sloppy in the first half, though. They had some penalties, some really bad. They just didn't execute smoothly on offense in the first half, and you only got 17 points. And I say only 17 points because, once again, you're playing a 1-10 team, an FCS school at that. So I thought they didn't look smooth for the first half, but then it kind of clicked in the second half, so I was happy to see that. You've played a fairly clean game, no turnovers that I can recall. Luke, 3 touchdowns, 200 yards passing. And the good thing was that he stuck with the quarterback for the majority of the game. This is the first time since they've gone, since they went away from DJ, where one guy's gotten 95% of the snaps. It wasn't this, we're going to start with Brock, give him 2 sequences, then pull for Luke, and then give him 5 sequences, then go back to Brock and give him, I've said from the game that's the dumbest thing I've seen from Mike Norvell do, because it builds no confidence in one player, and it just gives them the imagination of being on a short leash, a very short leash, when obviously we're not playing for anything. We're just trying to figure out who's the guy who could lead us next year, potentially, and who's the guy that potentially needs to go. And so I think it was smart to give Luke the nod. Obviously, you burned his red shirt, so he burned his red shirt in this game. And this actually does send a sign, I believe, to Brock that Luke is going to be either the incumbent backup or the incumbent competing for the starting role next year. So this tells me that Brock Glenn more than likely will not be here next year. due to the fact that they burned Luke's red shirt and gave him the majority of snaps on Saturday, and he's listed as a starter going into the Florida game. So, that was the big takeaway for me, is that Luke is the guy. He was your highest rated recruit that Mike Gravel's brought in to Florida State. He's gotten the starting nod as a true freshman now. He's going to get the rivalry game start on Saturday. And I do think he's starting to warm up, and you're starting to see some of the stuff he has and why he had that high star rating in high school. He can deliver the football. He has good mobility. He was able to step up in the pocket at times when pressure broke down, because we know this offensive line can't block even against the worst competition. But overall, I thought Luke showed some things. He showed that he's maturing and getting more experience on the field. And I think if you build around him the right way, he could be a very, very, very good quarterback in this system. But once again, it's about building up the trenches. So that was my big takeaway. It was good to see guys like Hakeem Williams get involved finally, to see him catch the football. Once again, it seemed like he had a touchdown, but they only caught 2 receptions. So once again, I make it sound like he did more. Like, it just... I'm wanting to see more out of Hakeem. He showed a couple of flashes there, but really the guys that stood out to me were Landon Thomas, once again, the true freshman, had a couple of big plays. We saw Amari Williams with a couple of big plays. Both of those, Amari had a touchdown, true freshman. You want to see that. Landon Thomas had a couple more explosive plays that I'd like to see. If you go down the list here, the true freshmen that got to play, Mekhi Danzy, BJ Gibson, Amari Williams, Landon Thomas, Wayne McCoy, you got Sam Singleton. You got a ton of young guys in that game, and they made impactful plays. Now, against the competition, you have to take it with a grain of salt, but you saw some things with these players that if you're able to get an offense that works properly, and we know nothing worked this year, and it's an anomaly. Like, there's nothing I've ever seen like this before. But if you build a team the right way, you do have some weapons if you're able to retain them. And I think there are some guys that I would like to keep from what I saw on Saturday, and there's some guys that I don't care if they go. Obviously, I don't care if the entire offensive line goes. They're terrible. They're very bad. And most of these guys have been here for 6 years, so they have to go. They don't have a choice of staying. They have to go. They have to go get real jobs because they're not going to the NFL. Some of the other guys on the line that I'll talk about, and I know I'm taking up a lot of time here, but I'm very passionate about.
I've been very good about keeping my lips shut, haven't I?
How bad that you have been. And one thing here is I want to reemphasize how bad this offensive line was, is that only 2 players on the offensive line against Charleston Southern had a starting grade blocking on Saturday. Jeremiah Byers and Terrence Ferguson are the only ones that had a grade of 70 blocking overall against Charleston Southern. I can't tell you how terrible, and you could see it with your eyes. The line still allowed pressure when they shouldn't have. The run blocking wasn't phenomenal. The line, you talked about Jacob Rizzi. When's his time to shine? He looked terrible. He's not looked good this year. This is a guy that I don't think you can rely on for next year. This line's a mess, and they could. And this for me was further evidence and further indictment against Alex Atkins and what he built as a line, because they could, even with him gone, even with a new coach trying to get them to, these players just can't even stack up against the worst competition in college football. And that's the indictment on Alex Atkins. So anyone that tries to hire Alex Atkins should look at this game and the players he brought in and what they could do against the worst competition in college football and say, Alex, what were you trying to build at Florida State and why didn't it work? Because this is what you did. I'll leave it at that. But skill position-wise, I did see some good players. And then on the defensive side, I was happy with some of the players there as well. Some of the linebackers, I thought the line played pretty okay. But I'll let you get some words in here.
Well, that was a pretty good summary there, KB. And I think I did a good job not saying anything. I generally interrupt, don't I? So it's Thanksgiving, so I want to give you a break. So, you stay in a good mood, and everything goes well. Okay, and I'm not going to summarize my thoughts too much in terms of what I've said in previous shows. People can go back and look at some of those. That number one, my concern, I have a couple of concerns, and I'm going to get to what you just said. First of all, my concern is the future of this football operations program, given this lawsuit. That's all I'm saying on that. Don't shake your head. Don't shake your head. I'm just saying that. The second thing is this reorganization, this rebuild of the football operations. And the rebuild has started when they fired Atkins and Fuller, especially Atkins and what's his name, Dugans. Those three, they had to go. I mean, the statistics don't keep them here. I mean, that's numbers. The numbers in sports kind of tell you what's going on. So that's good. Now, the Charleston Southern game, what did we learn from that? I think what you said about Mike finally has made his choice that I really, if I want to can only keep one of these guys, I want to keep Luke. I want to keep Luke Kromenhoek. Luke Kromenhoek looks physically like a quarterback, and he showed some flashes of where he can throw a very good football. I mean, he throws it hard, and he has the legs to run. So he just didn't have the game experience. He still doesn't have the game experience, and that concerns me going into the Florida game when we start talking about the Florida game, the Gator game itself here in a few minutes. So don't go away. That'll be fun to talk about. So did we learn anything? Yeah, what we learned is that we want to keep Luke on the roster, and I said earlier this week in Twitter that Brock Glenn is probably out of here, and I think I said that during the game. Brock Glenn didn't get in the game against Charleston Southern until late in the fourth quarter, halfway through fourth quarter. Brock Glenn and his support team, whoever the hell that may be, has got to say, we got to move on. We're wasting our eligibility. Now, whether he moves on like Tate did to another lesser D1 and competes, or he goes to FCS, he probably wants to go someplace where he can fit in and play right away. If not, he's just churning water. So I think we have made a decision. Now, here's the other thing. I have said publicly that I don't believe Mike Norvell would ride either one of these quarterbacks into the 25 season. I don't think this is going to be, well, it's Luke's job after the end of this season. It's his job, and we're just going to have the high school guy that's coming in that just committed. What's his name? Sperry.
The guy,
I forget his name.
Low 4-star.
Okay.
Kevin Sperry.
Yeah, Karen Sperry. He's not going to play.
No.
And there's very few freshmen that ever started at quarterback for Florida State. Now, Luke is one, and there was a guy named Chip Ferguson. You can look it up. He may be prior to your days on this earth. Chip Ferguson started as a true freshman for Bobby Bowden. And actually, Chip Ferguson was a very decent, very good quarterback at Florida State, okay? In that run of quarterbacks who had, he was a decent quarterback. And but he started as a true freshman. So I think the quarterback thing is unsettled. Mike Norvell, I believe, is going to bring in a new OC. That's going to happen pretty quickly here after the Florida game, whether win or lose. And I believe that OC is going to make recommendations of quarterbacks he would like to see come in here. And I think Mike Norvell is going to go back to the portal, and that guy's going to come in, and he's going to be the number one quarterback, and Luke will be number two, competing. But you need two quarterbacks, especially in today's college football, or semi-pro football, as we call it, is when these guys are running. When Luke was running, didn't you feel like, God, this guy's going to get hurt? When these guys have either designed runs, or in our case, the offensive line is so poor, they have to run anyways, that the odds of them holding it up for a 12-game season are just not there. They're going to get hurt. So you need to have a good starting quarterback, as we saw at Cam Ward down in Miami. They lead the country in offense now, number one in offense. One guy can come in. You got to have the right quarterback. And then you got to have a capable backup. If you don't have a capable backup, your season changes dramatically. And I'll bring that up when we start talking about the Gator game. And because DJ Langway, if he goes out of the game early, that whole game changes for them. That game changes. Now, Luke had to run a lot for his life against Charleston Southern. It was shameful that our offensive line, even though we got more rushing yards in that game than any game in the season, and we shouldn't celebrate that necessarily because there were a lot of breakdowns at offensive line. I totally agree with you. The offensive line is problematic and has to be totally rebuilt. None of those guys that played this year should be on that offensive line, either through attrition or if they do have even if they do have eligibility left. Hey, shout out to Mr. Pan knows $5. Okay,
shout out. Thank you.
And
Thank
that
you.
$5, and I match that. We match that.
Yep.
We're going to match $5 on top of your $5 that goes to our friends at the Leon County Animal Shelter. So thank you.
Thank you.
He asked a question, and if you send in a super chat, we're going to stop everything. We're going to go to the super chat tonight. How do you guys explain the failures of the offensive line? I'll answer first, and then you can say. I say it was poor recruitment, poor development, poor evaluation, and Alex Atkins is not that good of an O-line coach. He doesn't have the resume for it. Now, one kid brought in under Mike on the O has done anything after 5 years. That's totally correct. Alex Atkins put no one into the NFL. And then there's the guy who's disappeared that everybody was in love with. He was going to be the next superstar offensive lineman, and that was Amela. Where the hell did that guy go? He's not even on the depth chart anymore. So I hope that answered your question. KB, do you have an answer for Mr. Pan Knowles?
I mean, that's kind of what I've said all along is that it's bad. Yeah, like you said, poor evaluation and poor development. This is the guy we took from Charlotte who was put into a big time spotlight where he couldn't afford. He was brought into a bad situation, a bad offensive line, and just basically kept the same players where they were. He and then added some transfer portal pieces, and some bets paid off, like the guy from Notre Dame that we got as center, and some pieces didn't work out, and you saw most pieces didn't work out this year. But while he was using the portal, no one from high school was developed, and that's where the chickens came to roost this season. Year 4. When you need those younger guys to step up to replace the more senior players, because all you heard in the offseason was Florida State's got the most experienced offensive line.
Exactly.
Because these guys have been here for 5 years.
And Mike Norvell said that. Norvell said that.
Experience doesn't mean you're good at your job. It just means you've been there for a while.
That's correct.
So,
that's correct.
And that's what I hate hearing is because we know these guys have been here a while, but we know we don't want them on the field, though. We need guys to compete to take their spots, and that's what Alex Atkins be able to do. And you can look back. You go back to recruiting classes. A lot of the guys that they recruited from high school are no longer on the team. Rod Orr is no longer on the team. You can look at some of the highest rated guys that they brought in. Bryson Estes is on the team. He's not even competing for a spot. Like, this guy has been on the team for almost 4 years. He came in the 2021 class. He's still on the roster, not competing for a spot. What is, that Julian Umbrella, like you just mentioned, the third-rated recruit of the 2022 class, disappeared.
Lucas Simmons.
Jalen Early playing now, not very good. He's injured, and I don't think not very good. Daughtry Richardson, no longer on the team. Quayshawn Sapp, no longer on the team. Matavius Woody, no longer on the team. So you had attrition, bad evaluations, the guys that could not compete for the starting roles, and that's where he went wrong. So.
Okay, I think that answers that question. So, but the other thing I would say we learned from this game is that I think the team played hard. I saw a lot of young guys that I got a little excited about. It's too early to tell, but I saw some young guys out there playing on both sides of the ball that I think can make this roster for 2025 and make a contribution. Yeah. Okay, I don't have to. You went through a lot of the names, but I saw the eagerness there, and there should be eagerness. There have been FSU media types out there saying everybody's quit from the coach on down. I don't believe that. I don't think competitors quit. Okay. I think that's easy to say, but I think any level that you're competing at, there's a tendency. There may be some letdown. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive about that. But today, we don't need to bring in players that don't have the desire to go to the next level. We should be pitching that. We want guys that want to go to the next level. We'll do everything within our power to help you get to the next level and develop you in that fashion. And I think that what I saw is guys trying to put something on tape, either one, to make the 2025 roster, to be a contributor, or two, try to get to the next level if you're running out of eligibility. I don't see many draft choices on this team besides our special teamers, our Fitz, the kicker,
Not-
and Alex Mastromano, who's going to be a. They don't make punters high draft choices, but he's going to probably get drafted in the rounds of the draft because he's that good. It's sad when you say the best players going to the NFL on your team are special teamers. That's not a good thing to have to say.
Yeah. One thing I'll say though, you brought it up, is fight and quit and stuff like that. I do think at around maybe the Miami game or after the Miami game, there was people who checked out.
Give us some names. Give me a name.
Patrick Payton, one of them.
Okay.
I think there's other players. I think also coaches did too. I think.
Do you think Patton Payton's going to get drafted?
No. Not highly drafted. I think people draft him based on his size and his
size. I don't think he's that big. He's
not,
more of an edge rusher.
He's not going to look like Jared Verse. It's different body types.
Okay,
he's
so
like more of a
all
Brian Burns. He's like a Brian Burns type.
Okay, all he's good for then basically is rushing the passer on third down for an NFL team.
There's going to be there's going to be NFL teams that think that they can develop him. Probably Florida State kids.
Okay, it's a development. So he's not going to be in the first 2 rounds, right? Would you draft him in the first 2 rounds?
Not based on what tape was shown. And Darrell Jackson maybe could get a look if he stays another year. And
no, I think Darrell Jackson has picked up his game a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's aspects of this team. The reason I say this, and like I said, it's hard to pinpoint, but I think after the Miami game, but I watched if anyone watched the Colorado and Kansas game, you saw a Kansas team that was 4-6 going against a Colorado team that had all the momentum, potential playoffs, stuff like that. This is a Kansas team that started the season 1-5. Their only win was against Lindenwood. Was against Lindenwood.
Yeah.
So they were 0-5 essentially against FBS opponents.
Right.
The last 5 weeks prior to that, last 3 weeks prior to the Colorado game, they had knocked off 3 top 15 opponents,
including
Iowa
Colorado.
State, and then Colorado. That is the difference between what I see in a team like Kansas and a team like Florida State. One team at some point decided, certain players, coaches, staff members kind of mailed it in at some point. Because then you see Kansas and the players on that team and their fight and they're wanting to compete in these ranked games and wanting to win and game playing appropriately. And that was what I saw in those players, some of the post-game interviews with a guy like Kevin Neal, who's been there for 4 years, 1,000-yard seasons. And
that guy's a beast.
Yeah, you just don't see – I don't see that enough across the board with Florida State in certain players. I do think I see it in the younger players. But once again, that's a team like Kansas that you could have said could have been in Florida State shoes, where they could have went 1-10. Kansas has gone 1-10 in previous seasons. But this is a team that didn't check it in. They competed week in and week out.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. First-time viewer and a donation from a first-time viewer to the Leon County Humane Society, Mr. Robert Lakowitz. Wendy Lakowitz has already donated $4.99. Robert Lakowitz just threw in another $4.99. And that's wonderful. And we're glad you're out there listening to us tonight. And happy holidays. And it's appreciated. I know you guys are all animal lovers out there as well. And this goes to a very good cause. So
absolutely.
So we'll go back to KB to your what you were saying.
No, thank you for that again. And like I was saying, you just look at the way this team, like just an example of Kansas. Like I said, they could have nailed it in. Look at all the losses that's piled up. But then something happened.
But let me ask you this. How, as a coach, how would you, if you see one of your guys dogging it out there, how do you leave the guy out there? How do you do that? Would you just overlook it? You're just saying, well, some guys kind of mailed it in. Well, to mail it in, you got to be on the field to notice a guy's mailing it in or he's just not doing it anymore. Do you not pull him out and say, I don't care who he is. If he's your starter, you pull him out, especially in a season like this. What do you got to lose? You know what?
Well, no.
I'm tired of hearing guys. I'm tired of hearing guys that basically say, yeah, I saw these guys dogging it. And, a lot of fans will say that. And FSU media guys say that. You mean to tell me the coaches wouldn't see that and they don't do anything about it? That doesn't make sense to me. Something doesn't equate there.
My thinking is that, your thinking is that that player, even though he may dog a play, still gives you the best chance to win. Because you don't have enough competition. You don't have enough competition on the
I'm
roster.
out there. I don't care if it gives me.
I'm just telling you what I think the mindset may be. And that's a losing mindset. And that's a losing mindset. But I'm saying that if Patrick Payton is dogging one play, but dogging a couple plays here and there, is he still better option than the guy behind him?
I'm not sure.
Because there's a lack of quality behind him. Because there's a lack of bench on this football
but
team.
you're 1-9. What the hell difference it make? You're playing
But I'm talking about earlier in the year. When you're week 3 or 4 and 5, you're seeing these little tendencies. You're saying, well, we still have something to play for. We're still going to compete in this game. I don't want to pull the plug on this guy yet. He's going to turn it around. I'm going to talk to him. You keep saying that to yourself, and by the time you're in week 11 and it's already too up, like you convince yourself this guy's going to get better. I'll talk to him. His coach will talk to him. We'll turn it around. This guy, he won't do it. It's only one play, but then you miss that play where he did it again. Like, it's little things, and you don't pick up certain things, and then you'll think you corrected it. Oh, he looks good on that play. Okay, great. He's listening to me now. But you miss these things, and you take it week by week, and then by the time you look at the schedule, you're 2-9, and you're going against Charleston Southern. It's too late.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I just wouldn't put up with it. I don't know how any head coach or assistant coach worth their salt would put up with that if he sees this guy is dogging it. I just we don't have to get down into the weeds.
Maybe it may not be dogging. This is just an observation. It could
maybe they're just not that good.
Maybe it's a lack of ability or lack of putting players in the right position. Bad play calling, bad execution, mixture of both.
This is one question I would have asked Coach Norvell, and nobody has asked this question the whole season. Is it possible that every one of these guys is playing at the top of their ability? Now, I think he would say, no, they're not. We're trying to develop. They got more to learn. But what I'm saying is some guys obviously max out on ability. Some of the guys who aren't getting on the field, especially those offensive lineman names that you mentioned, Julian Amello, maybe the guy's no good. And we just did a poor job of evaluation before bringing them in, putting them on the roster. Okay. But I think at this point, I'm not sure we learned a lot about playing Charleston Southern. We're going to learn a lot more now as we transition to the Florida game, and I think we should go there now. Yeah. But we're going to learn a hell of a lot more, and I'm a little scared, to be honest with you. I am not as confident in some ways that this game could get ugly. And I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. What do you think? Let's talk about the Florida game.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. The reason this could get ugly is because, once again, we've not seen Florida State have a functioning offense against an FBS school this year, and that's the scary part. It's been a phenomenon unlike anything other in college football, where a team has not been able to properly execute an offense for an entire season. If Florida State, they're not going to figure it out on Saturday. Like, It's not just magically going to click. Like I said, early in the season, I thought, okay, week 2 it'll click, or week 3 it'll click, week 4 it'll click. Something will happen that it'll click, and that was just optimism. I've lost that. There's no optimism. It's the last week of the season. It's not going to happen on Saturday. It's not magically going to happen. So, and once again, this is a defense that does not produce takeaways. So you could say, well, if they put the offense in the right position.
Well, we had 2 against Charleston Southern, which is
you're basically playing in a high school. High school.
Yeah, so exactly, I know.
So once again, you have a terrible offense that is complemented by a defense that cannot produce takeaways, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I'm going to add on to what you're saying. I'm really more concerned. Yeah, listen, you generally on this game, and I've been watching these Florida games and listening to these games since I was a kid in the mid '60s. All right, I used to listen to them on a transistor radio. People going, "What the hell is that?" Trust me, it worked, and the games were so exciting, and I don't think I'll ever forget those things. And I'll never forget the game of Lane Fenner against Florida. It was clearly there was no replays. There were only, still cameras, picture. And Lane Fenner caught this touchdown at the end of the game. and it would have defeated the Gators, and he was called out of bounds. The next day, they showed pictures of his foot clearly in bounds. It was a game I'll never forget, one of the most controversial games ever in the Florida series. Lane Fenner's great catch in the end zone. Now, here's the problem on Saturday. FSU's offense is 131 ranked. There it is. And the referee, this referee, I think his name was Mosley. I'll never forget this guy's name. Lane Fenner's clearly inbounds, and they called him out of bounds. And it would have, and this was at the end of the game, they would have defeated Florida. It will be remembered for my history, and anybody who knows Florida State history. It's in all the books written about Florida State. And I think this is the play. Unbelievable. This throw near the end of the game, and Lane Fenner catches this ball, goes into the end zone. Look, is he out of the end zone? No way. And this referee called him out of bounds. Incredible call. Now, our current Florida State team, all right, on Saturday night at 7 p.m., they're ranked 131 out of 133. 131 on offense. We're averaging 273.1 yards per game. That's not going to beat too many people, and it's going to be difficult to beat a decent SEC team at Division I. We're ranked number 130 in scoring with 15.8 points per game. Those two statistics right there will tell you you're not going to win many football games. And the problem here is you've got a spread. The spread is 14.5 points with Florida State, the underdog, obviously. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. But in the history of this series, the biggest spread has been 17 points, and that was in 2019. 2019, the Noles were 6-6, and the Gators were like 10-2. That's how they ended their seasons. Florida beat the Noles 40-17. 40-17. James Blackman was the quarterback, 150 yards passing. And the great running back, Cam Akers, on a crappy team with a crappy offensive line, ground out 102 yards. But this game, I think we're going to really get to evaluate who can play and who can't on this Florida State team. This would be one of the greatest upsets of all times. It would take the sting out of the season for Florida State fans if they were to beat Florida. If you were to beat Florida, which I don't think is going to happen, and if you were to even keep it competitive, running down to the last few minutes, if we could keep the game competitive. But if we go into the game and we just 3 and out, this defense is not going to hold up against a very good Florida quarterback, and that is DJ Langway. This guy's legit. He's a freshman. He reminds me of when, Cam Newton. Remember Cam Newton? He was originally with the Florida Gators, and he transferred out of Florida. He kind of reminds me of a Cam Newton. This guy can hurt you with his legs. He can hurt you with his arm. He's got a big arm. Florida their offense is nationally ranked number 79 now with 375 yards of offense, and their scoring is number 71. They're scoring at 27.6 points per game against what I would say is better competition than Florida State has faced. So that's the facts. Okay, that is the facts. And if you're betting money, you're going to have to be careful where you put your money based on that spread. I think that spread's kind of low, and I think Florida State possibly could lose by more. If Florida State beats that spread, I think it will be a good day for the Noles.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting one. I don't think it's going to come down as much to DJ Lagway. It's going to come down to the rushing of Florida. Montreal Johnson last year he was averaged 5.9 yards per rush, 100 yards last year in the loss to Florida State. But he was basically able to rush it effectively, which kept them close in that game last year. Albeit, they had some quarterback issues last year. I think Florida's going to try to establish the run again this year. I think that'll be the game plan. That's been the game plan for a lot of teams against Florida State this year, is to try to establish the run, dominate the line of scrimmage, and then that will obviously open up the passing game. DJ's a really good player, but he's a true freshman. He's made mistakes as a quarterback. He's got 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, so he is prone to make mistakes if they do happen. But we know he can place the ball where it needs to go. But that touchdown interception ratio can swing a game, right? But once again, like I said before, Florida State has not shown that they have the ability to produce turnovers. So I think Florida is going to try to establish the run like many teams have against Florida State, which will then open up the passing lanes and open up the big plays, because that'll force the linebackers, that'll force the defensive backs, that'll force them to have to blitz from the secondary, and that'll open up explosive plays downfield for the quarterback. So
yeah, I think it's all going to come down to the trenches again. First of all, can Florida State's defensive line put any pressure? Can they stop the run? Can they stop the run? And I guess stopping the run would be less than 125 yards of rush offense. We can't have them just light it up on the rush. Can we pressure the quarterback? If not, DJ Langway is pretty accurate, pretty good quarterback. Yeah, he might make a mistake here or there trying to force something, but this guy can throw the ball. And if we can't get a pass rush going, our defensive backs, who I think are really good quality, they can't just run around all day and cover guys. Guys are going to come open. And that could be a problem. Now, on the other side of the ball, I think the Gators are only going to probably start rushing with 4 men. They're going to start with 4-player rush and see. And you know what? If they can dominate Florida State's line with 4-man rush and occasional blitz packages, okay, at the right time, it could be a problem. It could be a problem, and Luke's going to feel differently in this game than he did in the other game against Charleston Southern.
But this is a very similar game to last year, because Florida State last year didn't have a quarterback either. Tate Rodemaker was starting, and he's terrible,
right,
like we all know. And then Glenn came in at the last second due to the injury. But it was the defense for Florida State that dominated that game. They had 6 sacks last year, 11 tackles for loss, and they dominated that game from start to finish. So you'll need a similar revelation. Once again, you don't have the guys you had last year, Jerry Burris, Tatum Bethune, Malcolm. You don't have these guys, Braden Fisk. You don't have these rookies of the year that you have in the NFL now. You don't have them on your squad, but you will need those type of efforts on Saturday to give your offense a chance, because that's what happened last year when you had no quarterback in. You had a Tate Rodemaker starting. That's what you will need to happen to give Luke a chance to warm up and play his best, because we know the offensive line is not going to play well. But you need a 2023 Florida State defense performance to allow something to happen, to force a mistake, to force a fumble, force an interception. Good field position. Put Luke in positions where it's a short field. That has to happen to keep this game close. If not, like you said, it could go.
The thing is this: our coaches in putting a game plan in have to take everything we've said into consideration. They have to take into consideration that our offensive line is the worst in the country. It's one of the worst that Florida State football history. If they're not operating from that reality, and they're operating from, our guys, yeah, they're good, they're learning, they're getting better. If they really believe that and they go in to put their game plan, they're making a huge mistake, because this is not the case. And I have a problem if Florida can only rush 4 guys for most of the game and get away with it. We're going to have problems getting the ball down the field. If Florida can control any rush, we're going to try to run the football. We're going to try. You have to try.
Yeah, you have to try to create balance on offense. And that's the only reason why it somewhat worked on Charleston Southern, is because you were able to get 3 to 4 yard rushes against Charleston Southern, even though it didn't look good. But you have to create balance on offense.
But if you can create 90 yards of rush, that will help you when your quarterback plays goes for play action, because you have to use play action, but you can't do play action if you don't have established run game. It's impossible, and you can bet they're going to come after Luke. They're going to come after him. They're going to throw some blitz packages at him and really test him. So the offense is going to get tested. And if it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, punt, 3 and out, the defense is not going to hold up under that. They're not going to hold up under that because the defense is not that strong. Now, our defense, let me just say this, they are ranked number 88th in the country. They're giving up 387 yards per game. And that's a lot. That's, an amount. That's against opponents that I don't think are as good as the Gators for the most part. Now, so there's some fans out there probably saying, "Why are you guys really applauding the Gators?" We don't applaud. We listen. If you're thinking that, maybe you're on the wrong channel. I don't know, but we're going to tell it like it is. This is not a good football team, and we can't live in. Some fans will say, "Well, you guys are so negative." It's not negativity; it's reality. Don't confuse reality with negativity. They're totally two separate things. Okay, but you have to go. You have to give Luke some help here. You got to give him some ways to dump off the football. You got to. You know what the average release time for an NFL quarterback is? Average release time, 2.6 seconds.
Yeah.
So in this case, we need to train our quarterbacks not only for the NFL average, but it's certainly these guys, they've been accused of holding the football too long. Well, then they either need to be able to get that clock going in their head or they're going to take some hits. And I think Luke is going to try to run the football a little bit more out of one, jailbreak defense coming at him, or design plays. And I am concerned about, as those runs mount up, he's going to take some physical punishment. And, the odds would go up on that. And so I think if we can keep this game competitive, winning it would be unbelievable, but keeping it competitive is what we're trying to do here. There will be recruits on the sideline. We lost another recruit to Florida. I think that's 2 to Florida now, 2 or 3 that have switched sides based on performance of this team. And it was the running back, the 4-star, what's his name?
Byron Lewis.
Yeah, Byron Lewis. I think we're okay with running backs on this team in 25. I don't really see that as, is it a loss? Is it a signal that goes up to other recruits? Yeah. But, is Byron Lewis really going to come in and crack the lineup in 25? Probably not. So I don't see that as a huge deal. I like the running backs on this football team.
Unless he was a 5-star guy like Cam Akers who's going to come in and make a difference right away. No.
Right.
I mean, you already have Cam Davis. You already have Sam Singleton. You already have Micah Dance. Like, you have 3 guys. Like, once again, I would rather spend $20 million rebuilding the line from high school and from the portal than on a running back. Like, we have enough skill position players. We need to build the trenches back up. So we could lose every skill position player from the portal unless they're a 5-star guy that's going to make an instant impact. I don't care. If
you don't have good trenches on both sides, you're going to have an average season. I mean, it's just that way. And why would this guy, if I'm Byron's father or mentor or support team, and I say to him, "Hey, Byron, their offensive line is terrible. It has to be totally rebuilt." You're not going to be able to show there. You're not going to be able to show anything there. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. I would probably say that to him. I would probably say that. Okay, score predictions. We'll get that at the end of the show here. But I don't know. I mean, if this gets ugly, like the Georgia, that stupid bowl game, which was a joke. Okay.
First of all, Florida's not that good. They're not putting up 63 points. Like, why do you think they're 6-5? They lost by 32 points to Texas. Why are you giving them all this credit? They're 6-5. They have, you said the stats. They're ranked 70th in defense, 70th in offense.
Calm down.
But I don't get why you're giving them this much
I'm just
credit.
saying.
They're 6-5.
I think they have.
They're not fucking Texas. We're not playing Texas
this is
in the Alamo Dome. Like I just don't get why you're giving them all this credit.
Listen,
they're giving them way too much credit. We're not. Notre Dame was the best team we played. That either team's played this year, in my opinion. That either team's played this year, and you saw what Notre Dame did. They're not going to do worse than what Notre Dame did.
I was surprised they beat Ole Miss. With Lane Kiffin, I was really surprised they beat Ole Miss, and they played. They had Nobody predicted they would beat Ole Miss. I think they were an underdog in that game. No one predicted they'd beat LSU. I think they were an underdog in that game.
But once again, Ole Miss had lost to Kentucky before. Ole Miss had already lost to Kentucky before.
My point is this.
And LSU.
My point is this. I think they have gathered some confidence and they've caught some fire. I'm just being objective, okay? And I'll give this guy a credit, Billy Napier. This is the guy that everybody wanted to fire by midseason. He has now gained some confidence. Now, whether he's around in another year or two, I don't know, okay? But you know what? I give him credit for statements he put in the press. He didn't give any negative comments to put on the bulletin board at Florida State. You know what he basically said? And you might be able to pull up his comments or what he said. But he said this in these words, basically. He said, you know what? I'm not here to say how someone else's program. I've got enough. I've got my own lawn to mow here. I thought it was well-placed comments that he said. I've got my own hands full, okay? I don't need to get on the let's fire Mike Norvell. Let's throw darts at Mike Norvell. Why would he have to do that? You know, that's a Steve Spurrier thing to do.
I have no issues with Billy Napier. No, I have issues with the fans that 2-3 weeks ago wanted to have him fired, and now they love him again. That's the thing I have issues with.
Who?
Florida fans. Florida fans wanted him gone 3 weeks ago after the Texas game when they lost by 32. They wanted him gone.
What are you saying about
Florida
fans then?
They're wishy-washy. Now they love him again because now they're taking all that money and throwing it at recruits like they said they would. So that's the thing I can't stand. They're in love with Billy again, even though he's 6-5. But now they're in love with him because now recruits are. But they still have the 17th ranked class and they have 9 3-stars committed, stuff like that. It's the same story again. But 3 weeks ago they wanted him fired because they hated him. They didn't love these results because they were sick of 6-5 seasons. But now it's all good again. We love him again because, we beat Ole Miss, Ole Miss, a title contender. We beat that. Like, I just don't understand this. 2 weeks removed from getting dog stomped against Texas, and now we love him again.
Fans are fickle. We see that. We see that on our side of the ball, too, within Florida State. They get in love with people. Everybody loves Mike Norvell. He's got our
But they're
back.
talking like they're 10-2.
And that's why this reaction of how people react got Mike Norvell a $90 million golden parachute. And that's why we are where we are. Because
but even people then weren't
he
sure.
Didn't have, listen, if Mike Norvell didn't have that golden parachute, he'd be out of here.
But even people weren't even happy with Mike Norvell because of the recruiting classes he brought in. Mike Norvell still hasn't signed a top 10 class, and that's what people were still holding against him last year. Is that we went 12-0 during the regular season and still couldn't sign a top 10 class.
13-0 got a $90 million golden parachute.
But what I'm saying. I know this. I know that. But fans still held it against Mike Norvell because we knew he still couldn't recruit well enough, even with the record. And so that's what we held him accountable for. And that's I can't stand the contradictory nature of the fans. Once again, I don't have an issue with Billy. Like I said, I love the statement by him. Like he says, we need to focus on our own issues.
If you were a University of Florida student, or alumni, would you have a problem with Billy?
No. Well, I would, because he's averaging 5.5 losses per season. I would have an issue with his performance. Yes, I would.
This is what the Gator fans and alumni and boosters and what I call the ownership of that program think. Billy, if you're not competing for an SEC title, you're out of here.
And he has
Okay? You're out of here. It's not about being a nice guy or winning a few football games, and he hasn't. So he'll get another year because he has a buyout too. They obviously don't want to pay off. And they want to give him another shot, and they probably don't want to lose DJ Langway and some of the key guys for this team, all right? And so he's still there. Whether he's there a year or two from now, if he's not competing for an SEC, that's the standard. Isn't that Mike Norvell's standard to compete for a championship? If he's not competing for a championship, SMU comes into the league for the first time ever, and they're in the championship game. That's embarrassing.
I don't think that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it's embarrassing when
Miami hasn't won a title
in 20 years. It makes your league look weak.
Miami's never won an ACC title. What does that make them?
Okay, well, it's embarrassing.
SMU's won 10 games the last 3 straight seasons.
What does
that's
that
why you
say?
add.
What does that say?
That's why it validates your decision to add them to the league. It validates your decision to add. So you're saying that Texas winning the SEC this year makes the SEC look weak?
I'm not saying that.
But,
No,
but
I'm
that's
not
the same.
saying
That's the same formula. They added them from the
Okay.
Big 10,
Well,
from the
I
Big
don't-
12
I don't
to add
think
them to SEC, and
SMU
now they're winning. Them.
I don't think SMU, if they make the
I'm
playoffs,
just using
they're
your
going to
logic
go
again.
deep in
I'm
the
just using your
playoff.
same logic. You
All
add a
right.
new team to the division. Same with Oregon. Oregon joins from the Pac-12 to the Big 10. They are going to the Big 10 championship. Does that make the Big 10 look weak?
No, but I tell you what, TV wanted to bring Coach Prime and
So-
the Buffaloes in there
so
because
once
they'd
again-
sell out any game they went to.
But once again, you can't defend your logic. New team comes
No,
to new
I don't
conference,
say that.
goes to the championship game.
I say,
I have 3 examples of it. All 3 new teams are going to their conference championship games. and
I
potentially
just
winning it.
think there are people that will say, they said it when Bobby Bowden won all these ACC, 10 of them in a row or whatever it was. Oh, you guys are in a crappy conference. And that's what people will say.
Who gives
you
a
know,
crap?
That
Who
you
cares?
guys
If
are
you win
crap.
it- if you win
SMU
it,
comes
who
in and
cares?
we win it. We're in
Who
it the first year.
cares?
Ask SMU fans what they think.
I don't think
We
they
came
care.
in and dominated the ACC in the first year.
What I'll give them
That's
crap for is their
embarrassing.
out of conference schedule. I don't think they played
Okay.
anyone out of the conference, and that's what I'll hold against them. But if they go on and they make it to the Final Four, the playoffs, and they make it in, go to the Final Four, then people will shut up. But the results will shut people up. You have to do that. That's how they shut people up. Now, if they go in the
Hey,
playoffs
look,
and they lose
look,
first round,
look at what
then
my
people
Pan
ain't
Noel
them.
said. I'm not sure what KB is talking about.
Then
Look
go
at
to
that.
another show. I
No,
don't care.
no. Mr. Pan Knowles, I have to agree with Mr. Pan Knowles.
What don't you
He said,
understand?
It's
Say it.
embarrassing that they come into the ACC and are in the championship game.
But it
That's
validates
it-
the
it-
AC.
he's-
That
he's
validates
saying-
their decision to add them. I don't get from a
No,
business
you're
standpoint
saying
how
from
you
a
don't.
business. You're saying
Yes.
from a business
Yes.
standpoint, it does that.
That's
But
the
from a-
decision.
But from a competition standpoint, I take it as God. That's
God,
they
then we
should
should've
be able to
kicked-
run in the
Then we should have
be
kicked
there in the
Miami.
first
We should
year.
have kicked Virginia Tech. We should have
God,
kicked.
you don't feel any embarrassment as a Florida State fan that this team rolls in here in the first year they're in the ACC
Old man, we're
championship?
1-9. I feel a ton of embarrassment, but I don't give a crap about SMU and their record. I care that we're 1-9. I'm not caring about SMU. They can do whatever they want. I mean, like I said, Miami has never won an ACC
Okay, here's
title.
people. There's Mr. Pano says here's another guy. SMU shouldn't be on the ACC level in their first year. That's what I'm saying. This is
based on
how
what? But based on
fans
what?
react.
But
This is
based
how
on what?
Well, just based on, I guess. Okay, let's move on.
What
Let's
I
move
will
on.
give
Let's move
give
on.
the fans is that their
That's
ACC
embarrassing
schedule,
to Clemson, Miami, and Florida State.
But
That's
the
who it's
thing-
embarrassing to.
and I will give you that their ACC schedule, they didn't have to play Clemson, they didn't have to play Miami, and they only played Florida State, who sucked this year. So I will give them that. They did play an easier ACC schedule because they avoided Clemson and avoided Miami, and so they kind of had an easier path to winning out essentially. So I will give them that. They only had Pitt, they only had Duke and Louisville, and that was it. So I will give you that. But I mean, from a business standpoint, it validates the ACC's decision.
Hey, it's been known around college football that the ACC is not one of the stronger conferences in college football. Do you dispute that?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So these guys
But
roll
look at
in
the
there.
big-
I don't want to get bogged down in this. SMU
Look at
rolls in.
Indiana.
It's just personally embarrassing. It's personally embarrassing. If I run into an SMU fan or alumni, they say, "Oh yeah, they have a couple beers." The next thing they're telling you, "Well, we just rolled in there in 1 year and we took over." And if they win the ACC championship game, go to the playoffs, you should feel a little embarrassed.
If someone gets
Period.
you that,
I'm
though,
done. I'm done with it.
I'm not
done
done.
with it.
I'm not done because as everyone says that, I'll just show them Indiana's record, them being
Yeah,
number
and
2 in
India.
the
What
Big
did
Ten.
Indiana do against Ohio State? They got
But once
blown
again,
out. They
they're
got
number
blown
2
out.
in the Big Ten. They're number 2 in the Big Ten because of this. This is their schedule. Look at how bad the Big Ten is. Once again, there's no good team. There's no great team in college football this year. There's a ton of mediocre teams across college football. I don't think anyone can. The SEC is not elite this year. The Big Ten's not elite this year. There's no Pac-12 anymore. The Big 12's not.
Well,
There's
maybe
no
some
great
of that is
conference.
they have. I'm not trying to defend the SEC. I'm just trying to say maybe they have more balance in there, and that's why one team can kind of beat the other one this year. Maybe there's more balance there. Okay, and the portal has definitely balanced out a lot of the teams across the country. But that was just a personal opinion on my part. It's just a personal opinion that fans run into this. They run into this when they go on the road or whatever. That's what they hear. Okay, I'm just saying that. All right.
Your example was a drunk fan saying it to another fan.
No. Well, I got into it with one guy.
You said
I got
that.
into
So
it with
that
one
is
guy
your
one time.
anecdotal
Okay,
example.
let's move on. I think we've shattered that window. And here, now Pan Knoll did say this. Again, another reason it justifies the committee screwing us, because they don't see the committee, as we know, they don't think highly of this. It's going to be very interesting. It's probably going to be one team out of the ACC, and that's the champion, and that's by design. They have to put the champion in, okay? And in this case, if SMU lost their quarterback, let's say they win it or Clemson wins it and Klubnik goes down, they still have to put the team in. If that rule was in place when Florida State won the ACC, they would have gone to the playoffs. But it wasn't there. Now they've changed the rule. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Okay. All right. We ready for predictions?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll go first. Okay. Okay. As I said up front, Florida State's a 14.5-point underdog in this game. I don't go into this game with great confidence based on the trenches. I don't think we own the trenches. We haven't owned the trenches all year. I don't think we're going to own them here. I think Florida, in a rivalry game like this, both teams will be fired up, but I think Florida is really on a roll right now. Okay. They've already got a bowl game sold up. They're 6-5. But I think they're going to come in and want to really put an ass whooping on the Noles. The Noles really have to show up, but they have to show up on offense. If we cannot generate any offense, taking some time off the clock, we almost have to play a possession game where we can chew up this clock some to keep this game close, to keep the ball out of DJ Langway's hands in their offense as much as possible. But I do see a likely scenario, which 3 and out, maybe a turnover for us, and Florida scoring probably on 70, 80% of their possessions. Maybe I hope I'm totally wrong. But I don't know. I see this game like 38-7, 38-10, and that's the Gators taking this one in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I could see it being around there. Like I said, if Florida State had any semblance of offense, I think this could be a close game, but we don't. So I think that 16-point spread is going to be more like 25, 28 for Florida, unless we have a 2023 defense type performance where, 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, something like that. But you'll need that to keep this game close. You'll have to produce takeaways like you haven't done all year. That's the only way you'll keep this within 7 to 10 point range. If it goes really bad, I think it'll be like the Notre Dame game, but I don't think it'll be worse than that. But yeah, I see this being in the 35-7, 35-10 ish area. But they'll have to fight through the whole game. I mean, they'll see who plays, and it'll be up to Luke to take care of the football, and to make the smart read, not to try to be too aggressive, not to try to look for the big play all the way. Not to hold on to the ball too long. Get 4 or 5 yards, keep the ball rolling.
How long a leash?
That's the clock.
How long a leash do you think Norvell will have on Luke? Will he? You think it's limited? Then that throws out
unlimited.
his
Unlimited.
Oh,
unlimited.
unlimited. Okay, if he's your guy, okay.
Unless
and
he's
I think,
injured, he's not getting pulled. Unless he's
obviously,
hurt,
yeah. I mean, he's really.
No reason.
Do you think this is a good game to evaluate your young quarterback?
Yes. What are you going to put? What are you going to?
Well, you have a horrible offensive line. You
don't know if it's going to be good next year either. You don't know how good it's going to be next year. It's about
hopefully
fighting
can't
through
be any
adversity.
worse. It can't be any worse.
Exactly. So
okay.
you put them in. This is what football's all about. You're not always going to be in the best circumstances. You don't know if 3 guys are going to get hurt next year when you bring them all in. You play the games how they're played. You play them with the rosters you have. Go out there, fight, execute, and you see what happens. That's what it is.
Okay, a question from Christian. Will home field advantage have an impact? Little in this game. I don't think the teams. It's more about rosters. It's more about rosters, and
It's a 4 p.m. game.
ability.
It's a weird
Oh, I thought it's
like
7 o'clock.
4 p.m.
Are you sure?
I think 4 p.m.
No, I don't think so. I think it's 7. You know,
Is it?
somebody out there tell us what the score, what the kickoff time is. I think it's 7.
I don't know why this said 4. But yeah, I don't think
7 p.m.
Okay, you're right, 7 p.m. So yeah, I mean,
I'm always right. I'm
I
always
think,
right.
no, wait, is it?
Yeah, 7
I think it
p.m.
is.
Yeah, 7 p.m. No, I don't see any home field advantage
yeah.
here. Home field advantage tends to be in a close game where both teams are equally balanced. Now, KB says this
No,
is
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's you see rivalry games where records go out the door, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah,
that
home
game,
field.
I don't think that teams have to be the same record or both, for it to be home field advantage to me. I don't think that matters. But I think when you rip out 20,000 seats and make the stadium smaller, that does have
but
a
it'll
difference.
be
And I think when
packed.
your team is 2-9, I think that's going to matter too. So I think it'll play some. But once again, when you have no operational offense, there's nothing the crowd can do about that. I think it may play a little bit into the defense, but overall, it's not going to.
And you can't look at the Charleston Southern game and say, "Hey, we put up all these points in that game." That's an outlier. That game is fake. You know, it really doesn't do anything because now you're playing a team that can hurt you. Okay, they can hurt you.
But
and that's the way it is. I'm not saying this is one of the greatest Gator teams of all times. I'm saying it's a team that's learned to win now, and they've learned to fight. And I watched that game against LSU. I watched some of it against Ole Miss. This team gets after you. I mean, they're putting out a lot of energy. Do they make some mistakes? Yes, they do. But they're putting out a lot of effort. So we can't, like in the Charleston Southern game, we started with 2 penalties right away that hurt our performance in that first quarter. You know, I mean, we can't make mental errors. We can't be turning the ball over because it's tough enough when you don't do those things. So that's it. Yeah, I see it as 38-7, 38-10. I think if you're going to take the odds, if you were betting, who would you take? KB?
I'm taking the spread. I mean, I'm taking the -16 for Florida. I mean, it's just the smart move. It's not about at that. If it's just about money, it's take the spread for Florida. But
yeah,
the only thing that last week could have done is you've taken the 21-point monkey off your back. You said
what's that? What is that? You taken I know
you weren't able to score 21 points. Like
okay, who cares?
What you could care mentally is that we aren't capable of scoring 21 points in a football game.
You scored more than 21 against Charleston Southern.
It doesn't matter. Mentally, a kid that's 18 doesn't give a shit about that. We do because we're old and we don't play football. But mentally, we're on the sports field and you're doing it. It could be mentally like, okay, we can do it now. It's week to week for these kids. It's not us sitting behind computer screens talking about it like idiots. It's them on the football field week to week. Yes, you are. So when they get that mental block out of the way, that could mean something to them. I could say, okay, we got that off our back. That's less pressure. We're not going to be a team that Florida State in history has not scored 21 points all season long. Let's go out and play the next week. I'm sure that's something that Mike Norvell is actually going to preach to them that says, guys,
are you serious?
You have nothing to play for. You have nothing to lose. Go on Saturday. There's nothing, no other records you can't lose, you can't break. Leave it all out there. But once again, mentally, I think for some of those guys, it's like, we saw that we can do it. We visualized we could actually run an offense. It doesn't matter who it's against. We could run an offense. Is that going to result in 45 points on Saturday? No, it's not. But for some of these guys, being able to actually execute it, and some of those guys haven't been on the field all year until last week. To get on the field, to get in the end zone and visualize that and then execute it, it does play confidence. It does give some of those guys confidence to actually get on the field and actually do it.
I agree. Okay, I don't disagree.
So, and these are 18, 19-year-olds. Most of those guys are now young guys now on the field for this team. These aren't Kentron Portier, who's been here 5 years, who has dropped balls time after time. Those guys are off the field now. It's going to be up to these guys who are 18 years old to try to put this team in a position to win on Saturday.
And the reason to play these young guys is you're still evaluating talent for the 25 season, and you have a quality opponent to measure to measure these young guys against. There's no sense playing a lot of the older guys. They're going to play guys that have a chance at the next level. of course, unless somebody's dogging it. And then anybody who's dogging it in this game, I can't even imagine. Now, do I think the rivalry of this game is as strong as it was years ago? No, I don't, because I think the portal has changed that. I think NIL has changed that. I think kids used to go to these schools because they wanted to be at that school. Now kids will jump from school to school, and so the rivalry is not the same as it used to be. It's like the NFL years ago. Guys didn't change teams. Guys were on teams for 5-10 years. Okay. But then when free agency started, one day he's on your arch rival, and the next day he's on the other team. So the best thing Mike can sell is how important this game is to Florida State football history. This game, like the Miami games, are etched in history. And the history of this series is so important to this university that they can win a lot back of the sting out of the heartbreak that Florida State fans have had all season. If they win this game, if they pull this off with a last-minute field goal, and we have that opportunity, we've got a damn good kicker there. If we could pull this off and win in a field goal, they would tear down those damn goalposts. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. And it would be justified, because a win over the Gators at the end of the season here like this is our bowl game. There is no other games after this. There is no other practices after this. There's only feedback to the players getting ready for spring, who's going to be on the roster, and December signing date coming up. If they beat this Florida team, it is a big deal. Okay. It's a bigger deal than anybody else you could beat on your schedule. In some ways, it's you. If you lose to both of your state rivals, it's a tough season. It's a tough season.
It's already a tough season. So I agree with you. If you win the game, it's massive. But I think if you even realistically keep it close and show progress in terms of having a decent day before garbage time of passing the ball or even running the football, to show recruits that are going to be at this game, like the Solomon Thomases, guys like that say, Mike Norvell can then go after the game to those recruits and say, we lost this game, but look at all the true freshmen that are on the field today. Look at Luke and the way he operated from the pocket, and look at Micah Denzi. Look at Hakeem Williams. Look at all the guys, but BJ Gibson. If we are able to operate something that looks like a comparable offense that people would want to be a part of, and say, we are going, and Mike Norvell can pitch. We didn't win today, but we made it competitive. We're 2-9. We're 2-10. But we made it competitive because we were able to execute. Now imagine when I get the guys that I'm going to get in the portal, do you want to be a part of this? Because this is what I'm going to build this back even better next year. Like that is the dream scenario for me, is that he has to show something that's necessary so he can show the vision to guide recruits and try to salvage some part of this recruiting.
He has to be competitive. He has to be competitive. Okay. And it has to be a competitive game from start to finish. That's what he wants to show, obviously. He knows he goes in with the possibility of things could get ugly. I mean, he has to know that. We watch the same games he watches, so he has to understand that. But his sales is going to be what he sold when he first got to Florida State. Is you have a chance, if you're as good as we think you are, you have a chance to be an early contributor. No promises, but an early contributor if you're that good. If not, we've had some guys we've evaluated that didn't play good. It's going to be up to you, but we're going to put the best player on the field this year and next year, and that in this final game, and that is young people will play here. We're not going to just play you if you've been here 4 years. You don't have any right to play more than the guy who got here yesterday. If the guy yesterday is better than you, then he's going to play. Yeah. That's what the NFL mentality is.
It's not just the youngest guy. It's the best people play.
Well, that's what I said. The best. That's what I'm saying. We have to make this program now the NFL model. And that model is the best people play. It's a business. That when a guy comes in, he's there to take your job.
Yep.
That's what we need to create here at Florida State. Yep. We have a chance now. When you have a dumpster fire, you start all over, and that is create it the way the NFL wants you to create it, because that's where we're going, and so on. The best people play. I don't care if you're year 1 or year 5 or year 7, which some of these guys now, like, it's 7 years of eligibility. It's incredible. So in that regard, I'll sit back. It won't be a tense game for me. It won't be tense. I haven't had a tense game the whole season. This isn't the Florida State program where there were tense games, where I felt there were years in the dynasty years, I knew we would come back. I can't even say we'll get a first down now for sure on every drive. So
on every drive,
it's not as tense. You agree with that? You're not as tense watching these games, correct?
No.
And that's sad to say. Yeah. But I would be, if we make this competitive, I'll be happy. All right.
Yeah. So no, I agree. So that's it. A couple other just news notes that we'll talk about here before we wrap up. So things came out this week about Quinn Ewers and his status and how they made that in comparison to the Florida State status last year in the playoff. And, Quinn Ewers is going to MRI for his ankle versus Kentucky this week. And what is that? What if he's out for the playoffs? Would Texas be, the playoff committee contention? Would they be out? Would they be
No. If they win the SEC, they're automatically in.
But what if they don't? What if they don't win the SEC?
Well,
and they're still in the top 12.
Well, then that'll get talked
if they're
about.
If they're a one-loss team, they would still be in.
Let's look who their backup quarterback is. Who's their
Manning.
backup? Arch Manning. Do you think that puts butts in the seats?
Well, yeah.
Of course it would.
Yeah.
This is all about butts in seats and selling hot dogs. Let's not be stupid. This isn't about who's right and is it equitable. This is about TV contracts. This is about butts in seats. This is about
But they need to admit
fees.
that. They should admit that.
Well,
they should admit it. It's
well, they're
about
never
they
going to
need to
admit that.
Well, once
They're
again,
never gonna,
so yeah.
That'd be like Mike Norvell admitting that his offensive line is horrible. Has he said that? No.
Well, by firing their coach, I think he
has not said that.
He fired their position coach.
But
so
he still never said it. He still never said it. So
other news.
Yeah.
Mac Brown is out at UNC, and that with his
now
firing,
they didn't fire him. Did they fire him?
Yes,
or did he retire?
Fired.
He was
on his
fired.
dad's.
Oh,
he's out.
Man.
And so that opens up a 30-day transfer window for their players. So their players are able to enter the portal right now, essentially, I believe.
Who's there that we'd be interested in your opinion?
I don't know if Amarion Hampton. I don't know if Amarion Hampton has any eligibility. Their running back is really good, but he may be going to the NFL.
I don't think. You think unless we got an elite national running back, then we don't need any. Why just right? If we can't get an elite guy like the guy at Kansas, he's gone. He's going to the NFL.
He's 4 years. Yeah, he's
going to the NFL. Okay.
But
all right.
I mean, this is, like you said, the first comment was, damn it, man, let the man retire. Like they didn't even let him.
I know. I mean, do you think they even talked to him and just said, hey, we want to retire and let's.
I mean, they didn't even let do like the Bobby Bowden thing where they kind of.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's go back to what I said before: hot dogs and butts and seats. If his agent probably said, make them fire you because what did he get out of it?
Yeah.
If he retires, he gets nothing, He loses how much? Probably 15, 20 mil?
Yeah. Let's
really.
I'm trying to look up
the business end of it. Come on, it's the business end of it. Right?
So he was, let's see, he's 73 and he was. Okay, so he signed a 1-year contract extension in 2000 that ran through 2028. So he just got a contract extension last February. And so his base salary was $900,000, $3.3 million in compensation. So his annual compensation was $5 million. His buyout, but he can't. So this is his buyout structure right here.
What is it?
Oh, sorry.
And let's remember the buyout.
2.8. So that's not
okay. Bad. Well, you don't sound too excited about that. $2.8 million. Most people never make in their lifetime of working for 30 some years.
Well, when I compare it to Mike Norvell's $60 million buyouts, that makes me happy.
I get it, but let's not smirk at $2.8 million because most Americans work their entire life and never will see $2.8 million.
Well, I'm not talking about most Americans. I'm talking about college football coaches.
Yeah, which is
$90 million to $2 million.
Yeah, which is unbelievable.
That's a bargain in college football terms.
I get it, but wouldn't you say you got to fire me because I want my $2.8 million? I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. So,
No, he could fall on that sword and say, okay, listen, I'll retire, but you take that $2.8 million and you send it to the Leon County, because Mac Brown was a Florida State guy. So I want the 2.8 million sent over there to the animals. Right.
He's gonna do that.
So what I'm saying is that I always said that about Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell could put some in the pot for this season, for next year's teams.
I do agree with that. I think that could be interesting.
Jesus, he makes $10 million a season. God, it's unbelievable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Some other things here.
No, wait a minute. One question. I'm not one way or the other. These guys flip teams, 20% of the recruiting class. Nobody cares.
What are you talking about?
UF took 20% of the FSU recruiting class. That's big news.
I don't think it's that big news. A couple of them were 3 stars, and then
a
couple of them were like I said, I'm not concerned unless they're going to make an immediate impact next year, which the guys that they took weren't. The only guy that potentially could be is Solomon Thomas. And once again, based on the evaluations from Alex Atkins, go ahead and take him because none of Alex Atkins' recruits have ever started on the offensive line. So that's the Solomon Thomas is the only one. The 5 is the only 5-star we have that looks like he could go to Miami or Florida.
Yeah,
but once again, none of the Alex Atkins recruits have ever panned out. So I'm like, I don't really care at this point. Because it looks like Solomon Thomas is going to be at Florida State for his final stop for the Florida game. So he's coming this weekend for the game. And so people, now it's like Mike Norvell needs to see he can keep this guy. Is he going to come to Florida?
Well, he's got an immediate here. If he's listening, Mr. Thomas, Solomon Thomas, if you're as good as the pictures show and everybody thinks you're that good and everything, then you should come to Florida State because you're going to start right away. There's nobody. There's a lot of open vacancies, Mr. Thomas.
You're losing 6 offensive linemen to just graduation,
and you're going to get. You can leverage this situation with NIL money. So you're going to get decent NIL money. You're going to get a very good opportunity to start if you're that good. And we're going to have a new offensive line coach who's going to have a pretty good resume who wants to put you in the NFL.
Yep.
So that's what I'm selling to you. Maybe Mike Norvell should put me on the road here and I'll go out and sell some of these guys because I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I'm going to tell them what it is. These guys, we have to beg them. I'm not going to beg anybody. I'm not here to beg you, Mr. Thomas. I'm saying these are the realities. And if you're that good, then you come in here and you start right away. You put a lot on tape. You'll be out of here in 2 or 3 years. You'll be in the NFL.
I agree with that.
Because you know what the guy's doing on the other side, I'm here to block the guy in front of me, and I'm here to do my assignment, and I'm going to get good grades for doing it. If the guy on the other side of me can't get it done, I'm not going to like that. I'm going to encourage him to do better. I'm going to block for my running backs, but I can't win the whole game by myself, fellas. But you know what? I am going to score out, and I'm going to score high.
I agree with you on that.
That's what I got to offer you. Now you can go to Georgia. You can go to maybe Florida. You might be able to start there.
Florida is the most likely.
You might be able to start at Miami, but at Georgia, Texas, the Alabama. I don't know. Maybe you're going to sit. I don't know. So okay, what else you got?
A couple other transfer portal kind of related things, which I need to. Is this so? CJ Hurd was a big time recruit at Florida State, but he ended up transferring out to FAU, where he kind of was the star of the season. Mm-hmm. I see this as a miss for the staff, but we know we have a crowded defensive backfield. Now, do you see this as a miss for the staff in terms of this guy going somewhere else, having a really good season? Same thing with CJ Campbell. CJ Campbell just had a great year for FAU.
Yeah, but who are they playing?
Players make plays. You could say the same thing about Jared Verse. You could have said the same thing about Jared Verse when he was at Albany, right? Who are they playing? Who is he playing?
Oh, I know.
Same thing with Brandon Fisk. He was at Western Michigan. Who was he playing?
I understand.
Players make plays. Players make plays.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Are they? That's for the front office evaluation staff to see. Do you want to invite this guy back or what?
Well, do you think it's a miss that they didn't keep him so that he could make play?
That's the thing.
Are they investing in the wrong people? So this is I think an example of them investing in the wrong people potentially and not keeping the right kids.
Well, I've already said they have to look at the football ops front office on scouting and evaluation. They need to really look at that. And if they don't, they're making a mistake. So
Yeah.
that's all.
And a couple last things here. Another one from the portal was I know this to you is that a lot of these FCS guys, because the playoffs are starting for FCS, you're going to see a lot of top FCS players entering the portal. Do you think it would be smart? The thing with portal offensive linemen is tough because you're not going to see a bunch of starters, I don't believe, going into the portal from top programs, right? Because they already have positions. Why are they going to jump in? So your easiest bet is guys from FCS who are starters going into the portal. Jacob Rizzi hasn't really turned out, in my opinion. He hasn't performed well so far. Do you think? But I think he wasn't. He was actually a good player, but he was at heart.
I'm going to keep him on the roster. It's his first time here. He didn't get into the lineup till late in the season. He's good enough for a backup. You've got to put 20 guys. You got to have 20 guys in that offensive line room.
So do you
is
think
is he not good enough to be in the top 20?
Well, do you think Florida State should be attacking guys like this? Guys like Cal Poly, top offensive tackles from FCS, or should they be waiting for guys that say Indiana or mid tier like Middle Tennessee or middle tier FBS programs who are going to go in?
Listen, they need to go after anybody they think they can get who can block somebody. That's who they need to go after. They've got to put 15 to 20 guys in that offensive line room, okay, as starters and backups, because it's depleted. And so they got to go after people they believe. Let's say this guy, if they think this guy is really good and they look at his tape and they say this guy dominates at his position, against the competition, okay, that I always say we got to know who the competition is, then guess what? We need to call him up. Ring, ring, period. I mean, that's it. Okay.
I think
now listen, I want to say something as we continue here, but we're not going off the air till we get at least one more donation, one more gift giving for the animals. And if we have to bring Gus up in your lap to show them what a needy animal, get him up in your lap.
He's asleep. I'm not waking him up.
Wake up, Bowden. We want one more donation. I don't care if it's $1, $5, $10. I'm going to match it, and it's for a good cause. Don't get that Starbucks tomorrow and give us that one donation so we can send it off. And we're matching it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue till we get one more, at least one more gift.
True.
Go ahead.
To your point, I do think that, if we have $25 million for an NIL this offseason, I think 20 of it needs to go to the offensive lineman. Or at least half of it, like $1 million per top tier offensive lineman.
Well, you got your other side too. Now you got a defensive side too.
I would rather have I shouldn't say that, but our defense is not as bad. But if you don't have a competent offense, you're not going to win any games.
You're right.
You can outscore opponents. Like Colorado's a good example.
Right.
If you put up a lot of points, your defense can sometimes figure it out on its own. But if you don't have an offense, if you can't put up more than 14 points, you're not going to win any game.
Right. At Colorado, their defense got better, but not good enough because their offense is good enough to put up points, but they couldn't outscore everybody.
But they still won 8 games, 8 or 9. They're going to win 8
No,
or 9
they had
games.
a good season. They had a good season.
So it shows you.
But you're right. If you can't put up points in any sport, I don't care what sport it is, if you can't put up enough points, then you're going to lose a lot of football games.
Yeah.
You're going to give a lot of football games. You know what I'm saying? Okay, here we go. The Lackowitz family is all in tonight, okay? There's Kayla Lackowitz. She's a Dogs fan, I believe. Yeah, she's a Georgia Bulldogs fan. And, she probably would ride around with Carson Beck in his brand new Dodge Charger with the 500 horsepower engine. So, Kayla Lackowitz, you have put us in a position that we can shut down at any time when KB decides, thank you for your $1.99. And that is greatly appreciated. Going out to who? Leon County Animal Shelter. And,
she's a Dogs fan. I would post the Carson Beck smiling.
Carson Beck. I don't see him as a top NFL quarterback. I just don't see it. Okay. And Kayla, I'm sorry to say that, but I just don't see it. Who would you take, KB? Yeah. Would you take Carson Beck or would you take Sanders? Shadu Sanders.
Sanders. That's not even a question.
You don't even see you see that as day and night difference,
yes,
huh?
Yes.
Boy, Carson Beck wouldn't let you ride around in his Dodge Charger or whatever. Does he? Hey, Kayla, maybe you know, does he have a Dodge Charger or a big truck, big Ford 150, dual tires on it? What does he have? Okay. Hey, if somebody else wants to drop a donation now, because KB could pull the plug at any time, we could do this for 12-hour marathon.
I couldn't.
Why not? No,
Thank you, Kayla, for the donation. We appreciate
that's
it, and the
great.
dogs appreciate it.
That is great.
I thought this was an interesting tweet when we talk about guys and who's loafing and who thought they were going places and who
Hey, look at this.
aren't.
Beck is going to get a GM fired. That dude at best is a second round. And I agree with Mr. Pan Knowles.
I do agree.
And thank you for your previous donation.
I do agree
your
with
gift. Yeah.
So this is interesting. Coach JP says that Patrick Payne intended on this being his final college season. They'll have conversations beginning Sunday on if that'll remain the case on what his future looks like.
With who?
JP told Payton not to focus on the future these last few weeks of the season. With Patrick Payton. Patrick Payton thought he was going to ball out this season. He would be probably a guaranteed first round, second round pick. And now he's having the second down, Now he understands that that's not going to be the case. And every mock draft shows him no longer in the top two. Maybe not.
Because, they don't have as many rounds in the draft anymore. What is it, like 6 rounds? I think there's like 6 rounds. And then it's all about undrafted signees and stuff. That's another show of who we think after the end of this season here, of who we think is going to go to the NFL, who's really going to get drafted.
But I think this just tells you that some guys came in thinking that some guys came in thinking that they were just going to ball out and maybe just they came in overconfident in their ability. And when you lose a lot of guys, like I think I underestimated the impact that guys like Verse and Fisk and even guys in the middle of the defensive line. The guy you ragged on all last year? Who did you?
I forget. Coop.
But
Coop
yeah,
corner. That's what he's doing now. Coop's corner.
But that defensive line
was
that defensive line was dominant last year. And now when those guys leave and it's just Patrick Payne on the edge by himself, it just doesn't work. And so Patrick Payne I think people believed that, like he said right there, he was going to be a number 1 pick, like a first round, second round block. And now
you watching this game. He can't set the edge. He cannot set the edge on run plays.
I think he'll be back in college.
They suck him in. Offensive linemen can do that. If they know it's coming their way, they may suck him to the inside, seal him off, and then the running back goes right around. I don't think he is a top 3 round guy. I don't think he's strong enough. He's not dominant. He's not a dominant defensive end. Okay. His stats don't show that. So they'd have to bring him in as a developmental of some sort. Now, let me say this. I don't watch as much NFL football as I used to, but I did watch some this Sunday. These guys, it really lit my eyes up of how fierce these guys are as competitors in there, because you know what? They could lose their job at any time, okay, to anybody for any reason. And I think some of these guys, they should bring some of these guys back into spring camp and just let them talk to these young players about what it takes to get to the next level. Yeah. It's incredible how these guys are throwing themselves around. There's nobody loafing on these fields because it is such a business. And we need to turn Florida State's program into a business like that and tell people how it is. Give realistic feedback. And if the guy goes, because we're dealing with a different generation, oh, they hurt my feelings, I'm going to go elsewhere. Well, then go to hell elsewhere. We got to get away from this soft stuff.
But once again, that goes back to you have to have, if you have 2 Jared Verses on a team, or like a Jared Verse will make an offensive line better because they have to go against that in practice every week, right? Because, when you face a Braden Fisk and a Jared Verse every week in practice, then the opponent against you that next week, that's a piece of cake, right? Because you face the best. When you don't have that on your team, when you don't have that layers of talent in the first team, second team, you can't prepare at your best, right?
Listen, let me tell you, it's the same thing. When I play a lot of ping pong all over the holidays, and I have to, I play my grandson, but he's not the best ping pong player there. He's not the best ping pong player. He's kind of like a tune-up game for me. He's kind of like a tune-up game. And then I face better opponents. But it's like you're saying, you don't learn a lot by playing the weaker opponents. You learn more from playing a better opponent. We're going to find out Saturday how these young guys are going to hold up. But the young guys have a lot on the line. And so do the senior guys. This is the final game for the seniors. And I think they're going to be at the beginning of the game. They're going to be honored a little bit. But you know what? It's at the end of the game when they want to hold up that gator head. They want to hold up that gator head and have their picture taken. I don't know how many pictures of that you see in every FSU book that's ever been published, like holding up that gator head. There's no better trophy than being in a picture with that.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, last two things. So someone posted this. I thought this was cool. So apparently they're sending up these. I don't know where these are at. I think there's one in Texas, but let me share this with you and let me see. How much would you pay for an experience? This was last weekend's Cleveland game, but it's like this indoor. It's like almost like I think it's like IMAX level. It's like a bar restaurant. It's like this giant screen, immersive screen. That's pretty cool. You gotta admit, that is pretty cool. It's almost like you're at the game. How much would you pay for an experience like that?
And you have a narrow screen. This would be a huge screen, like a movie screen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like almost like IMAX, but like kind of
yeah,
bends
it's like
around you.
You would say it's like the ultimate IMAX experience
Yes.
of watching games. Yes. I think it sells big time. Sports entertainment in this country is huge, and I think, is this a commercial business?
I think so. I think it's a type of bar, they said, that's branching out that does this.
But they have to have, don't they have to have rights from the NFL to broadcast?
So someone thought it was like that Spear in Vegas, but apparently it's a smaller kind of events company that does it. Oh wait, so this guy said it's called the Cosm in Dallas. It costs about $110 for an NFL game, but it includes,
to go.
But it includes food and drink service.
Okay, it's cheaper than going to the stadium.
No, that's what they said.
And a hell of a lot safer. You're not going to get punched in the face by some guy.
And they do college football games too, they said.
Well, here's what, to make that go as a business, to make that really work as a business, you have to have the rights to broadcast any games, any events that you want to, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to be. You're not going to make any money during the daytime. Your money starts on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. Yes, you have all day. But Monday through Friday, what's your business model? At night, you don't start till 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe you go to midnight. But
they're doing like this. They're doing like the big Michigan Ohio State game. This weekend.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
That would be actually pretty cool. So like $22 you can get in.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'd do that. I'd do that in a minute. Let's add up the cost. I drive up to Tallahassee 3 hours away. I don't know. That's a tank of gas. What's that? $50. Hotels there, the Motel 6, they want $200 or $300. If you get a better Holiday Inn, that's $400 or $500. Food, hot dogs, parking. Christ, you're in for $1,500 before you're done.
So interesting. So they sell
So from a business standpoint, I understand it.
So they have like general admission, which is like the larger bar area, or the reserve seating, which is like where you saw those guys that are like in the dome area. So for those are starting at $99. But
that's still a good buy. It's still a good buy.
Yeah.
It's still a good buy if you want to go to a sporting event that you're interested in.
So if you're in Dallas or Los Angeles, those are the two locations.
How much is a pay-per-view on that Tyson guy? Mike Tyson just fought that.
That was on Netflix.
How much was that?
It was free on Netflix.
It was free on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That wasn't bad.
But how much is a normal pay-per-view on one of those things? $50?
I mean, you see UFC can be like $100.
No, sports entertainment is going to continue to change, and it's big, big, big money.
No, if Netflix keeps hosting stuff like Netflix is hosting Thanksgiving football.
Who's doing the Christmas games this year? Somebody got that exclusively. I thought that was Netflix
Amazon? Oh,
or Prime. Was it Prime?
I thought Netflix had Thanksgiving, but maybe they have Christmas too.
Somebody has an exclusive contract.
Netflix has one of them.
Look, are they trying to tell us to get off the air? Look what just came in.
What?
Jody Potter, $4.99 for the animals.
There you
Look,
go.
for the animals.
Thank you, Jody Potter.
Leon County Humane Society, and I matched those numbers. We matched those numbers.
Thank you, Jody Potter.
So,
thank you,
so they double it. Each dollar you send in, I put $1 on top of that. So that's wonderful. Jody, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
You know what? That's what Thanksgiving is about. Listen, if you've ever gone to an animal shelter, if you've ever gone, and I watch some of these videos of animals who won't even look at people who walk by, and people will go in, volunteers will go in and just sit there till they start to respond. I'm telling you, it brings tears to my eyes. There is nothing worse than the abuse or inhumane treatment of an animal. It makes my blood curdle. All right. So Jody and everybody else who has donated here tonight, okay, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. And as you tell us what else you got in your mind, I'm just going to show these donations that came in, these gift giving, which no better time. So
last thing on my list. So Doug Gottlieb, if you've heard of him, he's like a personality. He was an ESPN personality, former sports guy. He got signed as the Green Bay basketball coach, Green Bay University. Basketball coach. But he had a podcast or a radio gig before that. So he negotiated in his contract the ability to keep his radio job. That sounds weird, right?
What? Say that again.
So when he became Green Bay's coach, he built into his contract the ability to continue to do his radio job.
Okay.
This is his schedule. 10 a.m. shoot around. 12 p.m. he goes back to the hotel. He tapes his podcast, then goes live on his radio show. 2 hours later, he's off the air. Then he goes to the game. I mean, he's doing. Do you think this has any impact on the performance of their team? Like, we said Mike Norvell can't properly manage his offense, and like he can't properly manage the organization of Florida State football, and he's not doing a podcast and a radio show.
Basketball is different than football. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, that's not.
You don't think this guy looks tired?
Well, maybe he wants to stay out of his home. Is the guy married? Maybe he wants to be out of the home.
I don't know, but I don't know. That seems like a lot between recruiting and development.
Hey, wait a minute. The new administration coming in, the guys there for what is it? DOGE, government efficiency, Musk and who is it? Viatech. We're not getting into politics here, but you know what they said? They're now taking resumes for people to work in their office, but they're expected to work 80 hours a week. This guy's not working 80 hours a week. He's having fun.
He actually may be because you have to prep for the show. You have to prep for shows like this. We don't prep, but these guys do.
You can get away with it. You can get away. These guys, he knows he can, but he also probably has some good assistants. But here's what happens. If he's not winning basketball games, then fans come out and say, you're not putting in enough time.
Say Coach Ham was doing that. Would you be pissed by the record? So
if
take
he's
Coach
winning,
Ham's record. No. The last 3 years.
Winning solves everything. Solves everything.
Take FSU's basketball record the previous 3 years. If you knew he was doing this plus the 3 years, would you be pissed?
Well, I'd question it. Yeah, I would question it. I would question it. But listen, Mike Norvell's been working his ass off, and he's got 2 wins to show for it.
Yeah, because hard work doesn't equal good results.
That's right. The hours you put in doesn't mean the results.
Also, they're 2-5 right now.
It's what you know what? And they gotta listen. Here's a story.
They have a tough record though.
For any Gator fans still out there. When Steve Spurrier took his try up in Washington for the NFL, he went up there. He was saying, "I'm just going to be putting in 8 to 5, playing golf, and all this other stuff." And they got all over him because he couldn't win enough football games. And Steve Spurrier was gone. Okay. But they questioned his worth ethic. If you're winning, nobody questions
Yeah.
how many hours you put in. If you're losing, you can't put in enough hours. That's the reality.
That's true.
But in the sports entertainment world, and that's what we have. It's really all about the money. And we said that about Mac Brown.
Yeah.
Mac Brown goes, honey, do you think I should just retire and resign? She said, for $2.8 million? No, you make them fire you, honey. You deserve that $2.8 million. And I would say, thumbs up, Mac. That's just business. Come on. You know that, right? Right? You've been presented with numbers at some time in your commercial businesses, right? I mean, come on. These guys, God, I'd do the same thing. I'd say, hey, listen, I need the 2.8. I'll retire, but you give me the 2.8, and then we'll make it look really nice.
But if you feel like the university's treated you right, would you not do a middle ground?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that attitude exists anymore, because I said that with Mike Norvell. $10 million a season. And he's in this. He says, I love this program. This program deserves more. Mike, you could give $2 million. Somebody did that. Who was it? Willie Taggart or somebody gave so much money?
He gave $1 million he gave $1 million to something back to the program. He did do that. Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is whatever legal way you could do it, and whatever way they think is a good way to show your loyalty to this university, they rewarded you with a $90 million golden parachute, on re-signing you, extending your contract, and you can't give back $2 million to the program or to donate it to the animals. Donate it to the animals. What are these? I don't see that. Now, maybe there's so much non-transparency out there now, KB. Between the NIL, when you send in $50, where does it go?
You get a T-shirt.
Yeah, where does it go? Where does it go? And then we have a lot of FSU media types, I call them web beggars, asking you for money. Well, at least when we get a gift giving at the holidays, it goes to an organization that send us nice notes to telling what that does for something. So I'm not here to bash people, but I'm saying Mike Novell has $10 million each season. So I don't know when that rotates over, but he'll get another $10 million the next year.
One last thing I do, because you talked about NIL. You talked about NIL money.
Oh, Bronny James. Let's talk about Bronny James.
This isn't Bronny James.
This
is about Brian Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Brian Kelly's a terrible coach, just to get that off my chest. But
so do the LSU fans.
but and probably Notre Dame fans too, by how well they're doing without him. But Brian Kelly had a meltdown on the sidelines, and Cam Newton has an interesting show if you haven't.
Hold on 1 second. The next donation comes in. We're off the air in 5 minutes. We're not going to go off. We need one more donation for the animals. It can be $1. It could be $10, whatever you want. I'll match it. And then we're off the air within 5 minutes. KB will end the show.
Okay. So basically, this was he went into a tirade on the player, calling him uncoachable, apparently. So this was.
I saw that. I saw when the guy came off.
Go through this and get your thoughts.
I don't. That's hard to tell. That could be AI. You're uncoached.
So he got into shit, coach. He said, "Don't walk away from me. You are fucking uncoachable. Who the fuck do you think you are?"
Wow.
You gotta get him in it. You gotta get nose to nose.
You gotta get nose to nose, chest to chest.
I think you're gonna see a lot more of that though. But these people get all this NIL money.
You wanna know why? Because they got fucking coaches as homeboys. You got parents as homegirls. You got these groupie ass yes men around these kids that ain't checking shit when they see fuck shit happen. So a kid like this, he already feels entitled.
He's right.
And nobody get.
But you agree with that so far?
I totally agree, because I'm old school. Now, if you went back and you started playing practice tapes and training camp tapes of Vince Lombardi, who's well before your time, who I followed a lot, this guy, he got on people, this is why Probably Saban got out of the business. Mike Norvell, we see his word salad on press conferences. Nobody will tell it like it is. I would like to sit in on how they give feedback to these kids at the end of the year, because they're so sensitive about everything. We don't need sensitive players. We need hard-ass, hard-nosed players, the old-time football guys.
Let's continue this.
Give an absolute no fuck how good you were in high school. With 707 right around the corner, these motherfuckers be thinking that they good.
Coach.
Let me tell you something. I got 62 offers. Motherfucker, you only can choose one. And shit, motherfuckers hitting the damn transfer portal faster than damn crack in the 80s hit the streets.
Gone.
You dig? Like these motherfuckers
He's right.
is in trouble. Cause
he's right. He's right.
He is right on. Even you see all the tweets right now, like all these recruiting sites we'll talk about these guys hit the transfer portal. They were a 4-star in high school. It's 3 years later and they're still talking about their high school rating. They could be out of high school for 3 years and they're still talking about their high school rating because they have no college stats because they've been sitting on the bench for 3 years.
This is what I've been preaching for months. This star rating system. We should do a breakdown on the star rating system. He just said it. Cam Newton the 7-on-7. They don't have people rushing them. They don't have people that are going to put them on their back. They don't have people with their arms up in the air. They're just throwing to receivers running around against defensive backs. And, this guy, look, on 7-on-7, he did. It don't mean shit. Yeah. Okay? I mean, we've turned these guys into, we've got to have an athletic dorm with a lazy river around there. I got to have a lazy river. I'd like to have a lot more pinball machines in here, Coach. As a coach, I'd go nuts. I think we need to be a program as we rebuild. Flip this on its ass. We're here to train people to go to the NFL. And we're going to train you like what you need for up there. We're going to bring back ex-players. They're going to tell you how it is. And they're going to tell you what it needs because I saw a thing on Deion Sanders telling the Buffs when he took on, most of you guys better get your college education and get that diploma because most less than 1%.
Yeah.
The rest of you ain't going to play up there.
That's just a statistic.
But this is
all athletes.
But this is what we need to be telling people.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to get you going here, and we're going to pay you some money, and you're going to be held accountable for this, and coaches are going to be held accountable too.
Yeah.
And turn this into a tough ass program.
Yeah.
And you know what? If that's not for you, this is why Mike Norvell, I don't think they believe him. I don't think people believe him anymore. Well, we have the standard. And if you don't meet that standard, well, Mike, what? I don't think they believe you because now and then you got to call a guy out. That standard, well, we don't call anybody out. And you better be calling them out in private then. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you have to call them out necessarily in public, but you have to call them out in private or take their playing time away or take them off the field, and that's how you show it.
This is not how real life works. People in the commercial field in real life, outside of sports entertainment, they get fired all the time.
Yeah.
They get called in for lack of performance.
You can't fire them right now, but in college you can't.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the full authorities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's tell you what Coach Kelly gonna do.
Need one more.
Oh, you on Coach? Don't worry about it. We about to go in the transfer portal to get your replacement. We about to go recruit your replacement right now. I ain't gonna keep going back and forth with you, bro.
They can do that, can't
I ain't about to keep going back and forth with you. So you want to keep feeling like you better than you got number 3. You think you Odell?
Oh, hell.
Go to hell.
Hey, stop it for a minute. Do I looked up a few stats on things and I said, do you think when like Johnny Wilson left Florida State, he was a kingmaker here, right? Johnny Wilson was a kingmaker. He walks into the NFL. What do you think his thinking was there? I don't
think he thought he was going to be a starter. I mean, he only had 700 yards his last season.
Look. 2 catches this year so far for 14 yards.
That's he's on the active roster. I don't think that's fair to
catches for 14 yards. Now I haven't even looked up Keon Coleman. He's been injured.
He's had a really good season.
But what I'm saying is, like Cam Newton here says, and I'm not a big fan. I'm not against the guy. Is if you think what you did in high school is so good. We've had guys come in here with nicknames, the Pope and Country. What was that guy? Country Ham. You know what I'm saying is, what you did in high school don't mean crap when you come to this next level. Okay,
Yeah, bro,
unless you're
ain't
very
nobody
exceptional, very
keeping it a
exceptional.
buck with these damn kids, and these kids ain't even motherfucking listening. But you got to nuke that shit in the bud early.
Some of you who don't want to hear curse words should turn this off now. Okay, we've now turned into an X-rated show in a way, but
7, at 13, at 12, I can't wait till one of my kids try some shit. Like, boy, what the? You think that's?
Nobody you been working out, boy.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you, Pat.
So what you say?
Listen,
Straight on been there.
One of them boys gonna be big.
hold on, boy. You said what?
all right, all right. That's
so
interesting.
I thought that was funny, but it's the entitlement. It's the NIL entitlement, and like you said, if you don't nip that in the bud, like you said early, then that just spreads like a cancer among your team, among the team, because then everyone has entitlement, and
Well,
they
you
feel
can't
like
be-
they can't be touched.
And you can't be writing stupid NIL contracts with people either.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they don't like the contract, then they go somewhere else.
I think that's a mistake Florida State did make, and they have to
And I think Deion Sanders said that. And I know you're not a big Deion fan. I am. But he said there were guys trying to leverage his program for more NIL money. He goes, "You're out of your mind. Get the hell out of here." You know what I mean? If we knew what some of these Florida State guys are being paid, there would be some fan reaction to that. Yeah. Do you think it'll ever come out what DJU got? Do you think that will ever come out? I don't know how some of this stuff doesn't leak out. I don't get it.
But at this point, I don't blame DJU. I don't blame him.
I'm not blaming DJU. I think he's probably a nice guy, but I'm saying there's no transparency. There's no transparency.
But that's not his fault.
It's not his fault. Did I say it was his fault?
I wouldn't be mad, but you said what would be your reaction? I don't care. I
didn't say it was his fault.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is the fans would react if they saw what some of these guys, what Pat Payton's getting and what he's producing. They'd be upset. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Good enough, man.
All right. That's going to do it. So
now,
7 o'clock Saturday, Florida State.
Are we going to do after game, or we're going to wait? We'll do that when? Sunday, Monday?
Probably Monday recap show.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah.
Maybe some recruit action.
Okay. I want to thank everybody who made gift giving for these homeless animals, rescue animals. You know, some of them stay there for years because Leon County, they don't put any animals down, as far as I know. That's their policy. Some of these shelters don't put any animals down, and they'll keep the animal for the duration of their life, and that's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Now, everybody's not suitable to have an animal in their house. If you're constantly out, if you're constantly traveling, and you don't have time for the attention of the animal, dogs especially. Cats are a little bit different. Dogs are pack animals. They need that comfort. They need to be with someone else. They need to be with their leader. So what I'm saying is, please, if you didn't donate tonight and you can send a donation directly to them, if you'd rather do that, please do it. Leon County Humane Society in Tallahassee, Florida, they have their own website. I'm just telling you, you'll get a good feeling. You'll get a good feeling. And they don't care.
I'll post in the chat in case anyone wants
to. Yeah, they don't care if it's $1, $10, $100. All right.
But thank you guys all again for the donations. It's awesome. And like you said,
it is awesome.
We'll communicate and post the
I'll show you the checks we send out and the thank yous that come in, and we will tell you what we sent out, because that's what we do. Absolutely. That's what we do. We don't need the money. We do it for these charity organizations. Now, our next show, we're going to be collecting money for the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend area, which is Tallahassee area. So we did that last year. We're going to do that. So, I mean, you can give up that Starbucks one day and send in $5. You can do that. Or you can do both. Some of you guys got big boats out there. I know that. There's people out there with big boats and big houses. Dig into that wallet a little bit, and I'll match it. Whatever you send in. Now, if you send in $1 million, then we're going to have a problem. Okay. I know. I want you to keep it down in the 5s and 10s, maybe the 20s. Don't get into, the big bills. Then we have to go to KB.
Yeah.
Hey, where's
All
Gus?
right.
You don't have.
No,
you can't
he's
turn the
sleeping.
camera.
Let the dog sleep.
They don't. People don't believe you have the rescue dogs. You got to show something. Put your camera down there.
He's sleeping. I'm not.
Wake
putting
his
the camera
ass
this
up.
way.
See, you've even made the dog soft.
Yeah.
See, dogs used to. You know what this one woman said? We feed these dogs all kind of food now. We've made them lazy and fat. We've made them lazy and fat. You know what this woman is now promoting? Table scraps and other things. That's what dogs ate for centuries. Now, your dog's lazy. Where are they? There they are. Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Gus.
That's Gus the bus. There's Gussie. Hey, Gus. Okay. And Bowden, where's Bowden? He was named after
She's
Coach
sleeping.
Bobby Bowden. He's sleeping.
She is sleeping.
Hey, but
The
listen,
girl's
when those two dogs get into it, right? When they get into it, you talk about trench play. These guys are going after. Who wins that battle most of the time?
She does.
Who, Gus?
No, Bowden.
Oh, Bowden, because she's more like a edge rusher. Gus is a little slowing down.
She is more edge. So.
All right.
All
Great
right.
show.
Well, you all have a healthy, happy, and safe holiday Thanksgiving. Be safe out there. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the donations. We really, really appreciate it. We hope for a competitive game on Saturday. Enjoy that with your family or enjoy it by yourself. That's how I typically like to enjoy it by myself, muted. So enjoy it. Have your leftovers. But once again, be safe out there. Enjoy your time off, hopefully. And thank you. Have a great one. And we will see you for the recap show likely on Monday, but we'll keep you posted. Have a great one, y'all. And
Happy
go
Thanksgiving.
Noles as always. Go Noles. See ya.